So, in the last video that I had spoken of the people who complained about the difficulty, I got a lot of feedback that seemed to suggest that many people may have misunderstood me, or I may have misspoken, that caused a miscommunication between me and the viewers, and I'd like to address that. First off, I want to apologize for not being more clear on specific about what I meant to say or to whom my attention was directed to. And if you are one of the people who watched my previous video, thank you for interacting with me. It helped me realize that um, I may have been inconsiderate or could have been more considerate towards the people who had valid criticisms regarding the difficulty of the DLC and regarding many other aspects. It's not just the difficulty. My previous video was directed towards two sets of people, two groups of people, and many did not catch that. So hopefully we can address it here. I'm going to try and keep this short and simple um, so that I do not take up many of your time. Also, the remainder of this video will contain certain spoilers, at least verbally, and very minor visual spoilers. Um, and my comment section will also most likely contain spoilers if it is as busy as the previous video that is in question. So, first up, the top complaints that I had with my first video, or I would say the top 3 topics that were mentioned in the previous video were the difficulty of Radahn and his second phase, the Erdtree blessing and the Ashen blessings, and the difficulty of bosses when you don't use your Ashen summons. And I want to address those issues real quick. So first off, many people have pointed out that Radahn's difficulty, especially in his second phase, is difficult for the wrong reasons. They have argued that with Mikola's hair flowing all over Radahn, it's difficult to anticipate his next attack or his next move. And I get that. If you are someone who relies heavily on visual cues and that was a obstruction for you, perfect criticism, valid, very valid. Nothing wrong with it. Many people has mentioned that the combos are way too long and hard hitting, and even some of his attacks seem unavoidable, which I have mixed feelings about. I have managed to beat Radahn without summons on the first attempt in one of my playthroughs, so I have mixed feelings about the fact that you can't dodge or avoid some of his attacks, but I mean, the person was probably unlucky, but still a valid criticism. Also, the light show that Radahn gives you, he flashbangs you. A lot of people have mentioned that complaint, and I don't know, I did not feel like I was being blinded because I could still keep my eye on Radahn, especially except for the massive burst of light that comes out in the middle that looks like a Death Star, a holy Death Star. That was the only thing that was really like bright. But for the rest of the attacks, I could see him very clearly. I don't know if it's my display settings that might be different to other people. If that's the case, then maybe just check your display settings. But if not, it's a weird thing to have gone through and to try and understand, because I myself did not go through it. Erdtree and Ashen blessings. This is where the complaints get a little bit more difficult to understand. Someone mentioned in the comments of the previous video, or the video in question, that going through the DLC or on your first playthrough, finding all the Erdtree fragments and um, the leveling accompanied with it, the increase in your strength and your defenses and so on, is fine for first playthrough, but for subsequent playthroughs it is a chore to go through. And if you are a completionist, I can probably understand that. If you want to take multiple new characters into the DLC and max all of them out, I can understand that it might be a bit of a chore, but in the same breath, I personally don't feel it is necessary to max out on your blessings, because on my first playthrough I maxed out. Oh no, I'm lying. On my first playthrough I got about 17 to 16 Erdtree blessing, and on my second playthrough I maxed out, and my third playthrough was around 12 or 13 Erdtree blessing, and in all instances I managed perfectly fine. It gets easier with subsequent playthroughs, definitely. Um, and I was on the same character taking it through multiple new game cycles, or 3 new game cycles, new game plus cycles I should say, to um, complete the DLC 3 separate times, and all 3 of those times I managed just fine. The first time was by far the hardest, so I'm struggling to see that argument. Many people said that it's a lazy way to implement difficulty, and I don't quite understand it, because many people are max level, many people are going in there under-leveled, and so are many people going in there at the appropriate level. Um, to have had a similar experience for everyone, I understand that the Erdtree blessings, they nerf you to the ground if you are over-leveled until you have gotten the fragments to get stronger, get more defenses and so on. Also, the under-leveled people are helped on a little bit to get them stronger, to get through the DLC a little bit easier than what someone at an appropriate level would get through it, if I may put it like that. So calling it a lazy implementation, I don't fully understand why people take that viewpoint. If someone would like to enlighten me, you could surely do that. I wouldn't mind knowing what that criticism is all about. It is a strange one for me. And then the Ashen blessing upgrade, it's not so bad. It's I mean, you do have to go through the entire DLC, just like the Erdtree fragments. There are a set number of them in the DLC, and with both of them, you need to collect all of them to reach max level. So I guess that falls under the same bracket as being a chore to go through. But also, if you are a person that does not use your Ashen summons, that is probably not a concern. So I guess it depends on your playstyle. But still, like I said, my first playthrough, I did not collect all the fragments or all the revered spirit ashes, and I completed it just fine. I had my fair chunk of challenge. Radon took me about an hour. Rilana took me about an hour. There are many bosses that took me about an hour to take down. So I don't know. I'm struggling to see the arguments with that. And then there are the arguments with people saying that it's too difficult without using your Ashen summons. And this is one that surprised me the most. I mean, Elden Ring is very much intended for you to use your Ashen summons. Not using them qualifies as a challenge run. Many people have made that argument and have agreed with me in the previous video where I had addressed these topics. And like I said, there's a very much clear way to play Elden Ring, and it is with your Ashen Summons. I mean, to quickly prove this, there is 2 ways to increase the strength of your Ashen Summons. First up, we have this little lady over here.
Greetings. My
Um,
name is
she
Revel
does
and
her
surprise.
Ashen Summons, Rodrika. There we go. I forgot her name for a moment. This is fresh into journey, I think journey number 5. So I haven't really done her quest line. I just beelined it back to the DLC. But yeah, we have Rodrika to increase the strength of your Ashen Summons, and there are consumables you collect, 2 different consumables in fact that you collect to increase your Ashen Summons, and then as well we have the Shadow Realm Blessing over here. And like I said, this character I've taken through the DLC 3 times by now, and then 2 other characters have been taken through the DLC on different playthroughs. So, you know, it's weird that people complain that the bosses are much more difficult without your Ashen Summons. And, you know, in the base game, the Ashen Summons quite literally broke some of the boss's AI. I do fully recognize that. And the Ashen Summons completely made the base game an absolute breeze. But it is not the case in the DLC. There is no way you are going to breeze through the bosses on your first playthrough, even with using Ashen Summons. So that is a weird complaint to me. I mean, if you do not use Ashen Summons, you are effectively doing the equivalent of a challenge run, and you know, it makes it difficult to understand your point of view. And I mean, there are many other issues in the DLC and in the base game that people have criticized, but the DLC is the freshest slice of cake that we have, so I'm going to focus on that. Gaius has a shitty hitbox, and not the entirety of his fight has a shitty hitbox. I mean, it's mostly just his charge attack with his ball. You can't roll through it, you can't really roll to the side because somehow he still catches you, and he tracks very aggressively, so trying to roll early enough to make distance is just not going to work. There are many instances where you can get easily swarmed and overwhelmed, like the basic enemies. When they do their little 3-hit combo, it basically knocks you out. It puts you on your ass, or it outright kills you, depending on your Shadow Tree blessing. So those are just a few extras I can name. A few of the bosses, like the Mother of Fingers, her side charge with her hands feel unavoidable. There are definitely many other valid complaints that people have and issues that they have with the DLC, but those are the people that I don't mind talking to. Those are the people that I do not think I disagree with, and or think they are completely wrong for saying that they do not like that certain aspect of the DLC. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, Radahn is a very mixed bag of opinions. There are people who absolutely loved it, and I am in that group of people, and then there are people who think it is an absolute terrible boss fight. And you know, those people also aren't wrong. They have different likes and dislikes, different experiences of what they would consider to be a fair challenge, and what they would consider to be a good difficulty. And I don't think that should divide us. I don't think the dislikes and the likes should be something that causes people to lose their shit on the internet. Where the problem comes in, and this is to whom my previous video was directed, are these 2 groups of people. People who go into the DLC with only the base game as their experience, basically the newcomers that Elden Ring attracted, and they thought it was going to be as easy as the base game. Not that they are wrong to say that it is difficult, but to complain and call the DLC bad because you went into it expecting it to be on the same difficulty level as a AAA title, like say Assassin's Creed or freaking God of War or whatever. If you went into that with that mindset that, oh, the DLC is going to be the same as the base game, that is definitely not the case, and it has never been the case with any of From Software DLCs. The DLC is post-game, it's very much post-game content, meaning that it is going to be either as hard as end-game content or harder. There's no easier in any of their DLCs. If you went into Bloodborne's DLC, you would have get schmacked upon first meeting one of those hunters. Or well, Dark Souls 1 DLC wasn't such a big leap, but still it was definitely more challenging than the base game. Dark Souls 2's DLCs were much more difficult, but that is a very controversial topic. Let's rather not touch on Dark Souls 2. But the point remains: the DLCs from Software were never, in the history of their games, easier than the base game. It is very much end-game content. So, complaining that the beginning of the DLC hits as hard as the end game, it's a silly complaint. And then also the toxic elite, the people who refuse to use the Spirit Ashen summons, or the people who refuse to participate in the Shadow Tree blessings. You are imposing difficulty on yourself. So, complaining about it is really strange to me. I mean, someone in the comments said that they get one shot by your basic enemies. Now, here's a basic enemy right here, and just to prove something, I took off my talismans for the purpose of this video, and my armor is a freaking robe with a bit of heavy gear on the arms and legs, and then a medium headpiece. So, let me show you how hard. Okay, just avoid that attack. That is the special attack that he does that actually does hurt. Just get the dog out of the way. Okay, those things do hurt. This is getting counterintuitive. Let me go to a smaller enemy. But the Mesmer soldiers, they do hit hard, but they by no means hit you in one shot. And keep in mind, this is journey number 5 on this character. So the scaling is whack. It's not New Game Plus 7, but it is still up there in terms of challenge. And that is also another thing. The people who went into the DLC on New Game Plus 7 and complained that it is being too difficult. It is a very strange. Let me just heal up. I need you to hit me with one of your regular attacks, please. Come on. Just smack me once. Just need to prove a point. There we go. See? Journey number 5, and I did not die from a single hit. Which tells me that you are probably on... die again. You are probably on New Game Plus 7 or New Game Plus 6. You are higher than I am. And I'm, like I said, I'm on Journey 5, which I believe is New Game Plus 4. And I'm not getting one shot. These guys are very easy to really handle, and I'm not focusing right now on my combat, so excuse that representation, but still, the point still stands. Here's an even more basic enemy. He should actually help my case a little bit easier. Here's a basic enemy. He's going to hit me quite a few times, and I am not going to die. Like, he does way more damage than a basic enemy in Elden Ring, for sure. But I'm not getting one shot, so if you went into it expecting it to be easy on New Game Plus 7, I really don't know what to tell you. It's a very strange complaint. And like I said, there are many more people who have valid criticisms regarding Shadow of the Erdtree. And those people are not wrong. If they don't like a certain boss because of X, Y, and Z reasons, that's perfectly fine. They are not wrong for having different opinions. None of us are. But I do believe you don't really have a place to complain if you self-impose difficulty on yourself, like the Toxic Elite, or if you come into this expecting it to be as easy as a regular AAA title, which it's just not. From Software is a massive cut above the rest, and their games have a standard that they expect us to reach. And if you like or don't like certain of their design philosophies, that's perfectly fine. Hopefully in future titles they polish it much more to please the existing fan base, much more to accommodate the existing fan base in a more broad spectrum. I think that would be perfect if they made a game that everyone could agree on. Fantastic, but that's most likely not going to happen. But rest assured, I don't think they are going to make another game of the scope of Elden Ring very soon. Miyazaki has said in one of his interviews that Elden Ring will probably be the biggest they'll ever go. So, but he's known to lie, so I might be wrong. Don't quote me there. But I have high hopes for the future titles. Thank you for watching, and again, I do apologize for any miscommunication that may have been presented in the previous video. Hopefully this clears it up. Stay safe, may God bless you all, and I'll have more coming your way soon. Check out my PvP video. It's the first time I tried, so if you guys enjoyed that, hopefully you'll have a good laugh, or even give me some pointers, please. I suck at PvP. But anyway, ciao.